You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome.
You are welcome. Hey,
Yes.
you did my Monday thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you pick up on it.
Yes, I did.
I think you're cool, and I want to be like you.
Aw, imitation's the best form of flattery. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So, hey, we are the Bible Guys. My name is Chris. This is Jeff, and we want to welcome you whether you're listening or watching. And we are in the middle of this epic tale of a prophet in the Old Testament called Elijah. His name is Elijah.
That's correct.
I said called. But yeah.
His name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, when they call them, they say Elijah. But before we get into that, we're going to go ahead and start off with a segment.
Who's most likely?
And I love this segment.
And this is one of your favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think who's most likely, we have to, the goal is for us to say immediately who we think instinctively.
I haven't looked at any of these yet.
No, I have not either.
You haven't either? Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay, you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
Number one, who's most likely to break a world record for the longest nap?
Ooh, I like naps.
I think that'd be you.
Yeah, that might be me.
Because number one, I don't take naps. Number two, I don't sleep well. I just don't sleep well.
Well, the Bible says the Lord gives rest to those he loves.
Oh, well, he doesn't love me. That's the implication.
I didn't say that.
Nope.
I did not say that. I didn't say the Lord doesn't love you.
I heard womp, womp, womp. God doesn't love you. That's what I heard.
That is not what I said. Yeah.
That's funny.
So I'm like a professional sleeper.
Yeah.
I lay down and I'm asleep in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And yeah, but then I don't take naps except on Sundays. On Sundays, a lot of times I'll take a nap. And this last week, I thought I'm just gonna lay down for a minute.
Oh no!
And when I woke up, it was dark outside and there was nobody in my house. Everybody, apparently they came trying to wake me up. I didn't know it, and they all left.
Where'd they go?
I don't know. They went and did stuff. I can't remember. They did. I don't remember what they did, but they did stuff.
And they're like, "Let Dad sleep."
Oh, he's sleeping.
Let Dad sleep.
Yep.
That's
so.
Fun.
Yeah.
All right. Number two.
Okay. Who's most likely to accidentally invent something genius while trying to cook?
Oh, that'd definitely be you.
That's gonna be me
because I don't cook.
You don't cook.
Yeah. And you are somewhat of a genius. And I'm giving you a little bit of love there.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Accidentally invent something genius while trying to cook.
And by the way, is that more like I spilled something accidentally? Like what was the I'm trying to think of flubber.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oops.
And then these ingredients fall in, and all of a sudden
something amazing happens. Yes, that's probably it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Wow, flubber. I went back there, didn't I?
That was a good one.
Into the archives. All right, number three. Who's most likely to spend an entire day pretending to be a celebrity?
This guy.
Yeah,
that guy right there.
Me.
Yeah, that's right. Zarbaugh.
Have you ever seen the YouTube videos where people have done this? Where somebody who sort of looks like Justin Bieber or something, he'll put on like sunglasses and they'll literally put an entourage around him and he'll rent a limo and he'll walk through a mall or something and crowds fall for it. Wow. And what they do is they have people, they say, that's Justin Bieber. And they do it just for fun, just for YouTube videos.
Right.
And they get big followings. It goes viral. And it is hilarious.
Wow.
Billie Eilish, she dyes her hair green.
Okay. Yeah.
And then people just dye their hair green and put on sunglasses. And if they have the same body type.
Right.
Oh, there's Billie Eilish. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
It's really funny.
Never seen that. But yeah. So you have been known on occasion to find your way backstage at awards shows and different things anyways, right?
Yes,
so you have a certain comfortability with that.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and by the way, those are great stories.
Yeah.
They're just don't do as I do as I do,
as you
do as I
used to
say,
do. Yeah,
as I used to do. That's right, because I haven't done that in a while.
Right. That's the old Chris.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Who's most likely to buy a one-way ticket to somewhere random just to see what happens?
Oh, that kind of sounds like both of us, but I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say me.
Okay. I think so too.
Yeah.
I usually go places, I do things on purpose a lot.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man?
I don't remember.
With Jim Carrey, where he says yes to everything?
I don't know.
Yeah. And Zoe, what's her name? Who plays an elf? Zoe.
Deschanel.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a scene where he just shows up at the airport and he goes, "I want your first available ticket to wherever it is that's available."
Oh, wow.
And he says, "And that's where we're going on vacation." It was like Lincoln, Nebraska or something. And he goes, "Well, that's where we're going on vacation."
Okay.
It's funny. Okay. And then number 5, who's most likely to spend an entire day trying to teach their pet how to dance?
I think it's probably going to be you.
I think it's going to be me too.
You like dancing and you like your pets.
Yeah, but my pet is a cat.
So then that's why it's going to take all day?
I guess so. Although I could buy a new pet. I could buy a dog.
You could. Or you could get a monkey. A monkey probably likes to dance.
Oh, well, that would be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely say me, but it's not very likely. It's just more likely.
Most likely you than me.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Those are very odd questions.
They are very odd.
Yeah.
But very enlightening. We learned a lot about you today, Chris.
Listen, just because I'm more likely does not mean that my tendency, propensity, or my wish is to get a pet monkey to get him to dance.
Well, okay. Well, I thought maybe.
Just to be clear.
Okay.
Hey, and speaking of dancing, there's going to be an incredible dance back and forth between Elijah and the prophets of Baal.
The prophets of Baal are going to be dancing.
Yes. That's what I should have said.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, this is the great contest on Mount Carmel.
Yes.
Right? And we're going to start it, but we're not going to finish it today, Chris. So we can't. Here's the ground rules. I'm going to give you the ground rules for this episode.
Are you mad at me for yesterday?
I am not. I'm just saying sometimes you're tempted to tell everybody all the stuff that's coming tomorrow and not finish the stuff we're supposed to talk about today.
All right. Today's today. Tomorrow's tomorrow, everybody.
All right. So we're going to go halfway through the story, and then we're going to stop at a weird spot.
Well,
and then we're going to pick up tomorrow.
Well, I don't know if it's
with the climax.
Spot. It's sort of like the gauntlet has been thrown. That's where we stop, right?
Okay. So here it goes.
All right.
This is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, and I've been there. I've been to this place.
You've been to the Bible?
To Mount Carmel.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1, later on in the 3rd year of the drought, remember Elijah went to Ahab and said it's not going to rain.
So this is 3 years later after the Ahab confrontation.
Later on in the 3rd year of the drought, the Lord said to Elijah, go and present yourself to King Ahab and tell him that I will soon send rain. So Elijah went to appear before Ahab. Meanwhile, the famine had become very severe in Samaria. So Ahab summoned Obadiah, who was in charge of the palace. Obadiah was a devoted follower of the Lord. Once, when Jezebel had tried to kill all the Lord's prophets, Obadiah had hidden 100 of them in 2 caves. He put 50 prophets in each cave and supplied them with food and water. Ahab said to Obadiah, we must check every spring and valley in the land to see if we can find enough grass to save at least some of my horses and mules. So they divided the land between them, and Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. As Obadiah was walking along, he suddenly saw Elijah coming toward him. Obadiah recognized him at once and bowed low to the ground before him. Is it really you, my lord Elijah? He asked. Yes, it is, Elijah replied. Now go and tell your master, Elijah is here. Oh, sir, Obadiah protested, what harm have I done to you that you are sending me to my death at the hands of Ahab? For I swear by the Lord your God that the king has searched every nation and kingdom on earth from end to end to find you. And each time he is told Elijah is not here, King Ahab forced the king of that nation to swear to the truth of this claim. And now you say, go to tell your master, Elijah is here. But as soon as I leave you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you away to who knows where. When Ahab comes and cannot find you, he will kill me. That I've been a true servant of the Lord all my life. Has no one told you, my Lord, about the time when Jezebel was trying to kill the Lord's prophets? I hid 100 of them in 2 caves and supplied them with food and water. And now you say, go and tell your master Elijah's here. Sir, if I do that, Ahab will certainly kill me. But Elijah said, I swear by the Lord Almighty, in whose presence I stand, that I will present myself to Ahab this very day. So Obadiah went to tell Ahab that Elijah had come, and Ahab went out to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw him, he exclaimed, so it is really you, you troublemaker of Israel. I have made no trouble for Israel, Elijah replied. You and your family are the troublemakers, for you've refused to obey the commands of the Lord and have worshipped the images of Baal instead. Now summon all Israel to join me on Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who were supported by Jezebel.
So there it is.
I'm going to pause there.
The gauntlet is thrown.
Ooh.
There it is. And so really most of this setup is a conversation between Obadiah and Elijah.
That's right.
And what's interesting about this is, it's a good reminder that sometimes we feel like we're the only one. So Elijah, in different times throughout his life, references and says, "Oh, I'm the only one. I'm the only prophet to serve God."
Right.
And yet sometimes we don't realize it's like, no, man, you're not the only one. I remember when I was in high school, I moved. So I moved from the west side to the south side of Youngstown, Ohio. And you have to understand that's like moving like from the other side of the railroad tracks to 2 sets beyond the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's not a good move to start with.
From worse to worser.
Yeah, worse to worser.
Uh-huh.
But nobody wanted to go to Wilson High School. And you know what they had to go to high school? They had metal detector machines to walk through.
Wow.
In my high school.
Back in the old days.
Back in the olden days.
Yeah, because all the schools have them now, but back in the old days.
Oh, they do now?
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Oh. Yeah, back in the olden days, nobody
That was a big deal.
Nobody had it.
Yeah.
So anyway...
back in the old days, they didn't even lock the doors. You just came in as you wanted to.
Right.
They didn't have security, all that stuff, yeah. Except at Wilson High School.
Except at Wilson. And it was, obviously I was the minority, and it was a really rough town. And so what I did is I just said, God, I am not going to go to this high school. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to easily lie. I'm going to put my father's address down. He lived in Austintown, and I'll still go to Cheney. And it was all planned out, and everybody said, okay, no big deal. And no big deal. But everybody I knew, I could name you 5 people off the top of my head that did it, right? They just put their parents' address down. And so I was coming out of church one day, and my pastor confronted me and said, hey, I'm excited. I heard you're going to transfer to Wilson High School. And I said, well, to be honest, I said, I'm going to just put my dad's address down. I'm going to go to Cheney. I'm going to stay at Cheney. And he looked at me and said, but that's lying. And I said, yes, it is. But it's also my life. And he said, I was really looking forward to you being at Wilson because we don't have anybody from our youth group that goes to that school. And you're a really strong evangelist. And I would really love for us to have like a bright light in a really dark place. And I was like, really? You got to be kidding me. So I went home, I prayed about it, and I was like, fine. And I confronted my brother, and my brother's like, yeah, that's fine. Let's do it. So we did it. And so we didn't lie. And we went to Wilson High School, and there was no Bible study. So I just announced that I was going to start a Bible study, and because students had to. And come to find out, all these people started flocking to the Bible study. And come to find out, there was plenty of Christians at Wilson High School. It's just that nobody was there to lead a Bible study.
Yeah.
So I thought I was alone, but it turns out I wasn't alone at all. And then our youth group grew because I am an evangelist. And so that first year, and this is going to sound like I'm bragging, and maybe I am, but I brought 70 guests.
Wow.
From our from that school to our youth group in 1 year.
Yeah, it's amazing what God does when circumstances in your life change. I wonder, had you stayed in Cheney, I wonder if you would have brought 70 kids.
Yeah,
to Jesus during that time.
I don't think so.
Right,
I'm not saying they came to Jesus, but they came to church.
You came to church, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times when our life gets disrupted, we have a different way of approaching things than when we just stay in the normal way our life is.
Yeah.
Right? And so you had less to lose when you go into this new place.
Right.
Right? You had all these friends at Cheney. You had all this circumstance in your life in Cheney. And maybe you say a little less. You invite less often. You stay in your group and with your group of friends. You don't reach out to other groups of friends. But now you're the new kid. And so sometimes that is enough to make you kind of just be friendly with everybody, trying to, right? And you wind up having more opportunity. It's interesting how God will sometimes disrupt our lives to make us to put us in a situation where we can be more effective.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
hey, and by the way, the reason why I know it's 70, because I know some people are like, how did you know it's 70, like all these years later? And it's because we had a visitor bringing contest.
Oh, yeah.
So it was called the Top 5. Get this, the top 5 teenagers that brought the most visitors throughout the school year got to go on a free vacation to Ocean City, Maryland for a week.
Wow.
And so it was a year-long contest.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how I knew. So I was number 1, I always wanted to be number one.
Right.
So I would, if somebody surpassed me, I would.
If you're not first,
you're last.
That's right.
Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky, that's stupid. If you ain't first, you're second. You could be third. Well, Daddy, I lived my whole life with that philosophy. So anyway, so the sermon is that you may feel like you're by yourself. You may feel like if you're in a situation, you're like, hey, nobody understands.
Yeah.
Nobody's been here before. I have no support. And the reality is listen, the Bible says there's no temptation that's taken you, but such as is common to every person. There's somebody who's been through what you're going through. You're not alone. There's people around you. And if you pray that God would reveal or send you support, who knows? Maybe God would, send you somebody that would remind you that you're not by yourself.
Right. I also think it's interesting. Obadiah was afraid to go to Ahab and say, hey, I found Elijah, because he said, as sure as I do that, I'm going to interrupt the king, and then God's going to whisk you away somewhere.
Yeah, God's going to disappear you.
Yeah.
Into somewhere else miraculously.
So, we read these 3 miracles that happened literally in the chapter before.
Right.
But Elijah's reputation went way beyond feeding a widow, raising a widow's son from the dead, and stopping the rain, right?
Right.
So his reputation at this point is, dude, I have no idea what God's going to do. You're going to be here, and then you're not going to be here.
You're an unpredictable wild man.
That's right. And God's going to do it. That's what he said. He said, and God will do it.
Right.
And so he's carry where the Spirit of the Lord will carry you away to who knows where. Right.
And you know what? There's the sermon in here is that there's a human side that is like, I think this is justifiable for Elijah or for Obadiah to feel.
Okay, you're
right. Like in other words, just because a pastor, and you and I said this just the other day, we were teaching that class, if a pastor gets up and just says something, you shouldn't automatically just take it as gospel. You should question, is that rooted in God's word? Mm-hmm. Is that something that's true? Right? Because, unless a speaker or a Christian or whoever, unless it's rooted in God's word, listen, there's a practical side to it that says, don't just take it at face value blindly. So here's Elijah. He's got a great reputation. He says, go tell the king. And the practical side of it is he's like, listen, I'm fearful because I don't know what's going to happen. This very well could happen. Is this from God, or are you just saying this in passing? Are you just, saying, hey, go tell him I'm here just to, so that leave your presence, then you're going to leave,
right.
and God's going to do something weird. And so he's waiting to hear the word of the Lord. And then Elijah says, as surely as I'm standing here in the Lord's presence, he says, I will meet with Ahab today. And then Obadiah says, that's what I needed to hear.
Right.
It's from God. That is specific enough for me to risk my life.
Yes.
Right? And so, so let's make sure before we, set our lives in a certain direction that we're doing it based on God's word.
Right.
Not just the prophet of God. Right?
So Jezebel is a Phoenician woman. Right, and was she the daughter of some Phoenician leader or something
a priest.
like that? Right, yeah,
she's
a priest.
The daughter
That's
of a
right.
Priest,
That's right.
Yeah.
And Ahab, who is an Israelite, marries this Phoenician woman, and this is one of the reasons why God had forbidden the people of God to marry people who didn't follow the true God.
Well, yeah, because she was sort of the main culprit behind the idol worship.
And in their life, Ahab is powerful, but she's the puppet master. She's running things, right? Jezebel is running things.
And by the way, it even says that.
Yeah.
It says Ahab's influence under Jezebel.
Right.
So it actually refers to that.
Yeah. So he's powerful. She's the one actually running things. And then it says here that he called, he said, hey, I want you to bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who are supported by Jezebel. As a matter of fact, other translations say who eat at Jezebel's table.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So she's funding them.
Right.
Is what's happening. She's the one that's making sure that this is happening. So Baal was a fertility god. We talked yesterday about the fact that he was acknowledged as the one that caused rain.
Yep.
He always was about power and sensuality. most of the time was built like a big bull is kind of the god. It's interesting. They still worship bulls around the world, which is really phenomenal.
Right.
I was in Nepal. We were at one of the holier Hindu temples, and I got a photo of this giant bull and people worshiping it, right? And so it still happens today. Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people around the world do. And it's always the same thing. It's about virility. It's about fertility. It's about sensuality. It's about power. Those are the things, that they're going for. So that's one. And then Asherah, the Asherah poles were always phallic symbols. And so, again, that was a highly sexual kind of a religion. And so these are the two religions she's decided to fund. She has 850 prophets that she's funding. Yeah. That eat at her table. And Elijah's the guy. Then he finds out Obadiah also happens to be a God follower. Great. There's two of us. Obadiah says, hey, you should know there's 100 of us. Yeah. Hiding.
100 that he saved. There may have been more that have been saved.
Yeah.
But at least 100.
But there's 100 that I was hiding.
Right.
Okay. They're not super courageous.
Right.
Even Obadiah.
But hey, sometimes you have to hide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just ask David.
Obadiah is nervous. So the only one that's like, all right, nobody else is going to do nothing.
Right.
And I love the nothing. There's poor English again. Poor grammar. But I love the boldness of Elijah that he goes, nobody else is going to do this. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so I got an idea. Bring all 850 of your prophets.
It's incredible.
And these are the popular gods,
right?
Which would make these prophets the popular prophets. He is going, literally, he's on the verge of getting canceled. This is what's going to happen, right?
Well, and let's not forget that people sometimes think that it's Elijah, 850 prophets, and then royalty, and that's it. But he didn't say that. He said, bring all of people. Israel. Right? All of Israel. And what he's saying is all of the 10 tribes, invite the entire
your entire
region,
kingdom. Yeah.
Your entire kingdom to witness what I'm about to show you, because I'm about to dethrone your false god. Right. I'm about to make a mockery of you.
My God is going to dethrone your God.
That's right. And better said. And what's really great about this is, so we picture Elijah as this rough guy, like in a lot of ways as wild as John the Baptist, but as strong as Samson. That's the way that I picture him, right? Because he's a rough guy, and so he's so bold, and what we're about to see is that he has unbelievable confidence, and we know that because again we just talked about it yesterday. Maybe that's why God allowed him to be able to, be a part of, raising a child from the dead.
If there's anybody in the Old Testament I think of as like an old cowboy, it's Elijah.
It's Elijah,
right? He's camping out by the river. He's, the birds are feeding him. You can almost hear the coyotes howling in the background and the music playing, right? Wow. Kind of that thing. And so he comes in, and then you can kind of think of Ahab. Ahab and his wife were super popular. So they would be the cool ones. They'd be the sophisticated, good manners, all this stuff. And he comes up, and Ahab walks up and goes, "Oh, so you're the troublemaker, Elijah." Yeah. And Elijah turns around and goes, "Nope, I didn't cause you any trouble. You're the troublemaker." Right. And he just speaks truth to, right? So he's this rough and tumble, kind of rough around the edges prophet talking to this sophisticated king, and turns it back on him and goes, "No, you're the troublemaker. All the problems in Israel right now are not because of me.
Right.
I just announced them. They're because of you. You're the troublemaker." And there takes a tremendous amount of courage. And there is something about that. Just this rawhide kind of mentality of going, you know what? God is with me right now. And if I don't speak the truth to the power in front of me, then who will? Yeah. Right. And I love that Elijah had the guts to speak the truth. I wonder if the other prophets had confronted Ahab, what would have happened? Yeah. But because I don't see it where God says, okay, oh yeah, the Lord said to Elijah, go and present yourself to King Ahab. So God sent him. Yeah, God sent him. Yeah. Okay. So okay. Anyway, so we're gonna kind of tough. We're gonna pick up with the rest of the story, and if you're wondering, it gets good. How it gets, giddy up, move them in, move them out, rawhide. So buckle up. It's gonna be good tomorrow. We'll see you then. Hopefully next time on the Bible Guys.